you have 5 years left to hyper gamble your way into elite status. And so if you're somebody who's been tracking the recent AI developments, things like Claudebot, things like Moltbook, you're starting to see that we're starting to scratch the sci-fi version of this AI revolution, the sci-fi side of things. We're starting to see things that we've absolutely never seen before, and it's scary. Okay, and so this has led to people making all sorts of claims, saying we're in the singularity, we only have a few years left, we're in the end game. And so what we're going to do in this video is we're going to take a step back, take a look at what's happened, and try to predict what's going to happen within the next few years. And are we going to be in a situation where if you don't make millions within the next few years, you're going to be a peasant for the rest of your life? Okay, so let's dive straight into it. We first have to take a look at the claims that different people are making. The CEO of Anthropic basically said that 3 years ago, AI struggled with elementary school arithmetic problems, and now it's able to solve problems that humans aren't even capable of solving. Okay, and this guy reposted it and said, reading what the CEO of Anthropic wrote, it is more clear than ever, you basically have less than a 5-year window to hyper gamble your way into elite status or end up a serf for life. Okay, if you don't make millions within the next 5 years, you're a peasant for life. And your entire bloodline is going to be enslaved, which, is crazy, is a crazy claim to make. We're in the end game now, okay? But this isn't the only person. Andrew Tate saying, you're running out of time, do something. Even Elon Musk, arguably the leader of the AI space, the CEO of XAI, which actually today XAI and SpaceX merged into one company, which is crazy. He's saying we're in the beginning of the singularity. Okay, so it's not just random people who don't know nothing making these claims. The richest man in the world, the top players of this AI game, are making claims like this. So let's take a look at it, okay? And so what is the reason for this claim? The main reason is the exponential AI progression that's been happening over the course of the past few years. So as you can see, this whole time AI, the growth has been stagnant. It's been non-existent. And then out of nowhere within the past few years, you just see this insane explosion of AI acceleration. Okay, and so how in the world is it even possible that AI went from struggling to solve elementary school arithmetic problems 3 years ago to making progress in solving unsolved math problems today? Math problems that not even the most capable, competent, smartest humans in the world are able to even, keep track of how to solve it. Okay, how is this possible? Well, to put in perspective for you, for a human to go through this same progression would take 10 to 20 years minimum. And here's how AI is able to do it in a fraction of the time. The first factor is something called Moore's Law. Basically what Moore's Law means, to put it simply, is that the total AI compute is doubling every 7 months. And the way you can think about this is that the total thinking power that the AI has is doubling every 7 months. So what we have now compared to what we're going to have in the next 2 to 3 years, it's not even a competition, And you can take, for example, that, when ChatGPT came out in 2022, it could only do 30-second coding tasks. Today, it's able to do tasks that take humans, even the best coders, hours to do. Okay, in a fraction of the time. And so training and inference compute scales exponentially. Like I said, every 6 to 8 months, it's directly following scaling laws. So it's predictably much better performance on cognitive tasks, things like math, coding, reasoning, etc. Okay, so that's the first factor, Moore's Law. The second factor is the declining price of intelligence. Sam Altman recently put out a tweet saying the rate reduction in price per unit of intelligence has been thing I've most consistently underestimated the past couple of years. 300x in a year is nuts. Okay, so not only is the compute doubling every 7 months, but the price per intelligence is exponentially dropping also. And so what does that mean? It means that the flop in cost per performance drops sharply due to better hardware, efficiency gains, economies of scales, and algorithms. So the same budget buys vastly more intelligence and experiments. So the same amount of money, you're able to purchase much more intelligence, which gives you much more leverage with the same amount of capital. Okay, and so when you combine these two, it creates a combined flywheel effect. Cheaper plus more compute equals bigger models, which equals better abilities. It's able to perform more tasks, and AI accelerates its own R&D. Okay, so even faster and cheaper progress. And there's sort of this abstract theory that one day we're gonna have recursive improvement, which basically means that these AIs are able to improve themselves, which we might have already achieved. But, when we get to that day, that's the day they say we're officially in the singularity. Okay, so that's just something to look out for. But exponential AI advancement is inevitable. We're already achieving it. But does that make the following claims true? Does that mean that we only have a 5-year window to hyper gamble our way into, becoming an elite, or, we're in the singularity, or that we're running out of time? Okay, does it make the following claims true? To put it shortly, nobody truly knows with 100% certainty what the long-term outcome of AI looks like. That's exactly why I would strongly advise you to take everyone's speculations of AI with a grain of salt, including mine. Okay. And so if you want to learn more about this specific question, check out my last video. That exact question is what I broke down in my last video as to, how to process these claims that people are making and where are we actually at in this point of time. Like 2 or 3 years ago, people were saying that by 2025, 2026, we would have already been, achieved AGI and been in the singularity, but clearly that's not the case. Okay, so you can check that out if you want. And the main person I want to talk about in this video is Jensen Huang, the CEO of the most valuable company in the world, NVIDIA, literally the backbone to this entire AI revolution. And I think he has the most realistic and modest, non-biased take on this entire revolution. Okay, and so I want to really talk about that and break it down. Recently, he had an appearance on the No Priors podcast, and he said that I think we've done a lot of damage with very well-respected people who would have painted a doomer narrative, end of the world narrative, science fiction narrative, and I appreciate that many of us grew up and enjoyed science fiction, but it's not helpful. It's not helpful to people. It's not helpful to the industry. It's not helpful to society. It's not helpful to governments. Okay, and basically he went on to say that AI is all about automation, not the science fiction narrative that's being painted. Okay. Then Jensen went on to break down the structure of this entire AI revolution, the different levels of AI and how different companies are making unfathomable amounts of money. Okay, and here's exactly what he broke down. Essentially what he broke down. The structure of this AI revolution is the 5 layers of AI. There's 5 separate layers to this AI revolution. I'm going to break them down one by one. Okay, so layer 1, the bottom layer, the core foundation of this entire revolution, the thing that everything else is built upon is energy. Okay, the foundational layer providing the massive electricity needed to power data centers, supercomputers, and AI processing in real time. Okay. Without energy, you don't have ChatGPT, you don't have data centers, you don't have, different models, you don't have anything. Okay, this is the core, bottom line, baseline foundation to this entire revolution. And we have different companies like NextEra Energy, has 183 billion market cap. Constellation Energy, $100 billion market cap. So this is no joke. And to compete with these companies, and if you want to go out today and say, hey, I want to start my own energy company, it's gonna be very tough for you to gather the people and the resources to compete with behemoths like these two companies. Okay, and so that's level 1. Level 1, the most bottom and foundational layer is energy. Okay, nothing else matters. Nothing else can be enabled without energy. Okay, layer 2 is chips. This is the hardware layer featuring advanced processors and specialized compute systems like GPUs that deliver the raw computational power for training and running AI. And this is where the infamous, legendary, most valuable company in the world is playing. NVIDIA, they have an insane market cap of $4.6 trillion. Okay, so that's insane. And, most of it has been built up in this AI revolution. They're providing all the GPUs to your favorite AI company, OpenAI, xAI, all these companies training these large language models. And so, when they found a gap, a few years ago, a decade ago, Jensen made a prediction saying that GPUs are going to be used to train AIs. He saw something that no one else saw, and so he bet his whole company on that. And you can clearly see where that bet paid off and what that led to. Okay, and so that's the second layer, the chips. The next layer, the layer that's built on top of energy and chips, is the infrastructure layer. Okay, and this is the build-out layer encompassing data centers, okay, otherwise known as AI factories, networking, cooling systems, cloud services, and supporting ecosystems that enable large-scale AI operations. And so the main players in this area, or in this vertical, is NVIDIA's CUDA, Amazon Web Services, and Microsoft Azure. And these aren't entire companies. These are more so teams within companies, different segments of companies that are dedicated towards, solving this one vertical. You had AWS, which completely blacked out a few months ago, and the entire internet just stopped working, which tells you a lot about the importance of these services. Okay, and so the next layer that's built on top of the infrastructure layer are the actual models themselves. Okay, so this is the intelligence layer consisting of AI models themselves, including frontier large language models and the broader ecosystems of specialized models across domains. And so these are your ChatGPTs, your Groks, your Claudes. You have OpenAI, which is worth $500 billion, Anthropic, which is worth $350 billion, xAI, which is worth prior to the merger that happened today, it was worth $230 billion. But literally today, as I was making this flow chart, xAI merged with SpaceX, and now I think they're saying the stock's going to IPO at $1.3 trillion or something crazy. But at the time of this video, it was worth $230 billion. And these are your models, these are more so your general large language models, your ChatGPTs, your Groks, but there's also specialized models across different domains that specialize on solving one specific vertical, opposed to, being a general problem solver like these companies. Okay, so that's the model layer. The layer that's built on top of the model layer is the application layer. Okay, and this is the final layer in this hierarchy of the AI revolution that Jensen laid out in this recent interview. And so this is the top value creation layer, where AI is deployed in real world industries such as healthcare, manufacturing, finance, entertainment, and automation to generate practical impact and economic gains. Okay, these are companies like Perplexity and Cursor, which both have $30 billion valuations. But the crazy thing is that these companies, literally, this was started 3-4 years ago. This was launched 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So within 2 to 3 years, these companies are already at 8-9 figure valuations, which is absolutely insane. Okay, and so this kind of really shows you as to with this AI revolution, this is sort of the gasoline that if you can find a match to light the gasoline on fire, you're gonna have a huge flame that is gonna take off and scale like crazy. Okay, and so those are the 5 layers of the AI revolution. The lower you go, the harder it is to start and compete a business within that vertical. So if you're somebody who wants to start an energy company, it's going to be damn near impossible to gather the people and resources to start a company in that vertical, opposed to, if you want to start an application company. Really anything other than an application company, starting a company that competes with ChatGPT and Grok, starting a company that competes with NVIDIA and Amazon Web Services, it's damn near impossible. Okay, and so the lower you go on this hierarchy, on this chart of AI, of the AI revolution, the harder it is to compete and start a business within the vertical. Okay, and so energy is the foundation that enables the rest of the AI stack to be built on top of it. And a big problem that we're having here in the U.S. is that China has twice the energy that the U.S. has, and so that's the biggest disadvantage that we currently have in the race for AI against China. Okay, and so if you're watching this video, then chances are that you're somebody who wants to partake in this once-in-a-lifetime revolution and create generational wealth. And you're probably looking at the different layers of the AI revolution, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, it's impossible to compete with these huge companies. I have no idea how to code. I know absolutely nothing about AI. If that's you, then welcome to the club. Only 0.0036% of the population is technical enough to build AI. Okay, so the only 0.0036% of the population are the ones that can partake in this revolution. The rest of the 99.9964% just sits back and watch this tiny minority of people make all the money. No, okay. The rest of the people that's not in this pool of people is in the same boat as you. And what if I told you that there's a 6th layer in the AI revolution, a layer that sits on top of the applications layer, which allows you to build wealth with a fraction of the time and efforts of these other layers, and there's no technical expertise required. Okay, and so what is the 6th and final layer? Well, it's becoming an AI scaling specialist. It's identifying a problem within a specific market and selling an AI infrastructure package for upwards of $6,000 to solve that problem for someone. Okay, and so with the sophistication and competition of the AI revolution growing, competing in any of these other verticals below the AI scaling specialist level is basically impossible. If you want to start an energy company, if you weren't alive 100 years ago and teamed up with, I don't know, John D. Rockefeller to start an energy company, you can't compete. If you want to start a chip company, you have to compete with NVIDIA and Jensen. Same thing with infrastructure. If you want to compete, build a model company, a large language model, you're competing with Elon, Sam Altman. I mean, you are in a disadvantaged position, okay, when it comes to any of these other verticals other than becoming an AI scaling specialist, okay? So if you're somebody who has no technical background, never built an AI company, doesn't have billions of dollars worth of funding and resources to start a company, then this is the route for you to go. Okay, and so selling AI infrastructure packages to other businesses is the quickest and most realistic way of taking advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity in front of us. So if you want to learn how to sell AI infrastructure packages for $6,000 plus to other businesses, then join the AI Scaling Specialist School community completely for free. First link in the description. We have over 80 flowcharts and AI scaling assets in the community. This flowchart, every flowchart that I make, I put in the community completely for free. There's the full AI scaling specialist course modules, which teaches you how to go from a beginner to signing your first client to scaling. And we have over 1,000 members to network with. So if you want to join, it's the first link in the description. If you want to ask me any questions, I'm always active in there. If you want to access the resources, they're all in there for free. So first link in the description, and let's partake in this revolution and capture some of the value that AI is going to create and produce into the world. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.